5 spine-chilling stories of sinister encounters while walking home alone revealed secrets await. Lisa's laughter rang through the diner, a buoyant melody against the backdrop of clattering dishes and sizzling pans. Each night, as a single mother working the graveyard shift, she wore a brave face for her customers and coworkers. But when the clock struck midnight and the fluorescent lights flickered against the oppressive darkness outside, the camaraderie faded, revealing the relentless weight of her responsibilities. Bills piled high, and each step home felt heavier than the last. Paranoia nipped at her heels like a hungry wolf stalking its prey. The comforting familiarity of her route home began to fray at the edges. Shadows danced awkwardly in the glow of streetlights, and whispers of rising crime echoed in her mind. One night, as she passed beneath a flickering bulb, she saw him, a figure cast against the night, hands hidden beneath a long coat. Cold dread pooled at her stomach. The town buzzed with stories of a woman gone missing. She dismissed it as imagination fueled by fatigue. Yet still, her heart raced, quickening as she quickened her pace. The figure didn't retreat, it seemed to lurk just behind her, edging closer with every hurried step she took. She tried to focus on the comforting sounds of her neighborhood, children's laughter, the rustle of leaves, the distant bark of dogs. But all of it was replaced by a prickling fear. With each bounce of her foot on the pavement, something about the atmosphere shifted, as if each friendly neighborhood face had taken on a sinister grin under the streetlights. She sprinted down her usual path, the pounding of her heart mimicking her speeding legs. Her pulse raced, breath choked in her throat. Was she truly being pursued, or was fatigue playing tricks on her? She stole glances over her shoulder, the figure lurking closer still. The familiar sense of safety morphed into a dark labyrinth of dread. The laughter of children now felt like mocking echoes, faces she once trusted twisted into leering visages under the pale glow of the moon. A sudden realization crashed over her. The figure was no stranger, but someone she recognized, a respected local, a man her neighbors held in high regard. The night turned cold, the shadows deepened, exposing a predator behind a trusted facade. The very community meant to keep her safe now became a living nightmare, reflecting the betrayal she never expected. Just then, a noise pierced the stillness, a whisper, too close, sending icy fingers down her spine. A promise of danger hung in the air, and she was painfully aware that with each step toward her house, the stakes grew higher. It wasn't just her life anymore, it was her children's safety woven into the unraveling secrets of this town. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Lisa stood at her front door, weighing the lurking threat against her children's innocence. The secret stitching this town's fabric together was beginning to unravel, revealing a terror that would make even the bravest hearts quirk. The figure that lingered in the night was just the tip of the iceberg, foreshadowing a nightmare she wasn't ready for. Cracking the silence around her, a sudden scuffle echoed behind her, sharper than the rustling breeze. The whispers seeped into her ears like poison. Lisa tightened her grip on her keys, heart racing, and dared to look back once more at the encroaching darkness. Something was crawling out of the shadows, a secret that screamed out for attention. She could feel the weight of it, a chilling warning that the horror was just beginning, and she was caught in its web. A shudder ran through Lisa as she turned slowly to face the darkness that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. The figure was closer now, shrouded in night, and the streetlight flickered uncertainly, as if it too wanted to retreat from what was approaching. She tried to convince herself it was just fatigue, that there was no reason to feel this impending sense of doom clawing at her insides. But the gut feeling wouldn't loosen its grip. "Mom!" The shrill voice of her eldest, Evan, echoed in her mind, snapping her back to reality. She was responsible for him, for her little ones, and every instinct warned her that danger was near. She had to get inside. With one last glance over her shoulder, dread washed over her as the figure shuffled forward. It wasn't just a silhouette anymore, it had a face, his face. A jarring smile split his features, teeth white against the night. This man, whom she'd waved to only last week at the grocery store, seemed to revel in her fear. Lisa's instincts kicked in, and she lunged toward her door, fumbling with the lock while her heart pounded in her chest like a war drum. She could hear his footsteps now, soft, but relentless. Each tap against the pavement felt like a countdown to something terrible. As she finally swung the door wide, a cold rush of air met her like an ice bucket, chilling her skin. She dashed inside, slamming the door shut and locking it with trembling hands. The house felt so quiet, her children were nestled deeply in their dreams, blissfully unaware of the terror lurking outside. Breathless, she pressed her back against the door, ears straining for any sound. Outside, the footsteps stopped. She couldn't hear anything but her own heartbeat thundering in her ears. A moment passed, heavy with anticipation. Then, the silence broke. A slow knock echoed through the hallway, chilling Lisa to her core. "Lisa," came a voice, deceptively sweet and familiar. "It's me. I just want to talk." Her throat tightened. In that moment of despair, she realized that whatever facade he wore was mere shadow now. "No," she whispered fiercely, hoping that strength could ward off the dark reality. "Come on, Lisa. You know me. Don't be scared." He laughed, a soft chuckle that crawled beneath her skin like a creeping vine. She edged away from the door, feeling the uncertainty cut deeper into her mind. The sound of his breathing grew louder, a steady rhythm that matched her own erratic pulse. It was too close, too personal. "You have nothing to fear. I would never hurt you." The words twisted in the air, sickly sweet like rotten fruit. Panic surged once more, and she moved instinctively toward the noise of her children. They needed her. "Stay quiet, stay hidden," she urged herself as she tiptoed toward their rooms, her heart racing. She had to protect them, no matter the cost. With each step, fear slithered down her spine. What would he do if he entered? Then, quiet fell again. The absence of sound was worse than the pounding footsteps. Lisa peered through a crack in the hallway, heart pounding loudly against her ribcage, and then shock rushed through her veins as she saw him standing still, as if waiting for her to make a move. She could see his eyes, those cold, piercing eyes locked onto her door. He knew she was home. Her thoughts raced. Should she call for help? But who would believe her? Who could she trust in a town filled with monsters? Just then, a sudden loud crash erupted at the back of the house. Fear gripped her, paralyzing her in place. What if she had company? Was it the man outside, or something worse? What other secrets were hidden in her home, waiting to come to light? Lisa felt the room spin around her, gripped by the very shadows she thought she could escape. The horror was creeping closer. What would she find when she dared to confront it? A chill crawled up Lisa's spine as the noise crashed again, this time louder, resounding like a cannon. It felt foreign, almost unnatural. Her heart raced as she threw a quick glance over her shoulder, fearing what she might see. The hallway was dark, the shadows dancing ominously, but she had to know. She had to make sure her children were safe. Taking a deep breath, she forced herself to move silently down the dim corridor. The door to Evan's room was slightly ajar, and Lisa could see the soft glow from his nightlight bleeding into the darkness. She paused, pressing her palms against the cool wall, the texture grounding her in reality. A muffled rustling came from within. Then there was another crash, a loud splintering sound, and Lisa's breath hitched. Her mind raced with images of her kids being taken, the intruder lurking in the shadows of their home. She was supposed to protect them. How had everything spiraled so far, so fast? Cautiously, she crept toward Evan's room, heart pounding in time to the silence that enveloped her, more frightening than any sound. She peeked inside. Evan lay on his bed, still asleep, oblivious to the chaos around him. Relief washed over her, but it was short-lived. The soft thud at the back of the house reverberated again, this time accompanied by a whisper, a barely discernible whisper calling her name. It wasn't just a voice, it was a promise that painted shadows against the walls and draped them in dread. Lisa, the voice sent shivers down her spine, familiar yet twisted. It was her worst nightmare made real, each syllable soaked in malice. She turned back to face the hallway. The door she had left closed behind her was ajar, swinging with the air, revealing just a sliver of night. Wherever she looked, the darkness appeared thicker, as if something or someone stirred within. Her senses heightened, she could feel the weight of unseen eyes watching her. The air thickened, suffocating under the weight of dread. Steeling herself, she pressed her back against the wall, inching her way toward the kitchen, the only area equipped with something she could use to defend herself. But every step felt cursed. The house breathed around her, alive and throbbing, its bones creaking with secrets. She could hardly tell what was her own heaviness and what belonged to the lingering terror in the stillness. Then, a creak from the hallway erupted like thunder. A shadow moved, drifting purposefully toward her. Lisa froze. The figure stepped into the light. It was him. The man from the grocery store, his smile grotesque, wide, and knowing. He stepped closer, each movement disjointed, fluid, like he was part of the darkness itself. "You thought you could hide?" he taunted, his voice slicing through the air. "Get away from my kids!" Lisa shrieked, a surge of energy igniting within her. But the figure only laughed, mocking her desperation. "Children are just so delicious." Lisa felt bile rise in her throat. She turned on her heels and sprinted toward the kitchen. She had to find something, a knife, a pan, anything. As she reached for the drawer, something clinked behind her. She spun around, heart pounding, and gasped as the figure stepped closer, shrouded in shadows, his eyes glinting with malevolent glee. "Let us play," he whispered, his breath chilling the air between them. In that moment, Lisa realized, she wasn't just battling him, she was battling everything she'd ever feared. The echoes of the past and the dark uncertainties of the future collided, and she had to choose fight or run. But then, a new sound pierced the air, a scream, piercing and shrill. It was Evan. Lisa's heart plummeted. What had she unleashed? What had her decision now set in motion? The scream echoed through the house, a raw, terrified cry that pierced the still air. Lisa's heart raced as panic clawed at her chest. Evan. She had to get to him. The figure, still grinning, seemed to revel in her fear, his laughter dull and mocking. "Don't you want to see how this ends?" he taunted, stepping closer with a predatory grace. But she couldn't focus on him. She bolted toward the hallway, her legs moving mechanically, driven by the frantic need to protect her son. Each step felt heavier, as if the shadows were trying to pull her back, chaining her to her fear. "Evan!" she called, voice trembling. The kitchen faded behind her, the only thing that mattered was getting to her child. The sound of her son's sobbing filled her ears as she raced down the hallway. The door to his room was still open, the faint glow from the nightlight illuminating the chaos within. He was there, huddled under the covers, the blanket shaking with each whimper. "Mommy!" Evan's voice broke her heart. There was no time for hesitation, no room for doubt. She surged forward, but as she crossed the threshold, the air shifted. The shadow of the man loomed just behind her, and she sensed his presence coiling like smoke in the room. Why not join him? He crooned, his voice slippery, wrapping around her like a noose. "Stay back!" Lisa shouted, spinning to face him. The knife drawer had been left open, but all she could see was darkness creeping around the figure, warping his shape into something grotesquely unreal. Fear surged in her veins when she realized he could easily slip into her mind, devouring her resolve. "Your boy, he's so frightened," he hissed, his voice a mocking melody. "Wouldn't you feel better if you lulled him to sleep? Just a little sleepy time, no?" She screamed, lurching back toward Evan, desperately trying to shield him with her body. He stared wide-eyed, lips trembling, tears streaming down his cheeks. "Mommy, I'm scared," he whimpered. The Shadow Man chuckled low, the sound curling around her and squeezing her lungs. "That's right, little one. You should be. This is only the beginning." With everything inside her urging her to fight, Lisa grabbed a kitchen knife, its blade catching the dim light in the room. She held it up like a lifeline, trembling yet resolute. "Get away from my son." The figure paused, tilting his head, the smile on his face faltering. "That's cute, but you think you could hurt me?" Before she could respond, the room seemed to warp again. Dark tendrils snaked out from the walls, reaching for her, seeking to drag her deeper into the abyss that lingered just beyond the light. Lisa grit her teeth, bracing against the dark clouds swirling around her. "Not today!" she shouted, pushing toward the man, the knife aimed at his twisted form. He let out a sound that could only be described as a snarl. The shadows thickened, and suddenly, the whispers grew louder, merging into a cacophony. "Lisa, save us!" The tormented voices swirled around her, drowning her in an ocean of despair. "Evan, hold on!" she cried, running against the tide of darkness. But her child's fearful gaze met hers, the weight of his trust crashing down on her, and then, as if drawn by an unseen force, the wall behind him began to ripple, pulsating like a heartbeat, dark and menacing. "What the hell?" Lisa gasped, her instincts screaming that what lay behind was far worse than the figure before her. She glanced at Evan, who was now silent, his little frame still. And in that moment, a chill shot through her, for she realized the truth: the intruder wasn't there to kill or take, he was there to ensnare them both. With one last close look at the man, she yelled, "Run!" But before the sound left her lips, the darkness surged. Just when she thought all hope was lost, the ground beneath her shook, cracking open like thunder. A bright light erupted from the center of the room. She clutched the knife tighter, determined to protect Evan. But would her fight lead her to salvation or damnation? "Where will you go?" the figure whispered, fading into the shadows as the light grew. "You cannot escape your fate." The world around them began to crumble, and as Lisa's breath mingled with terror, she had to make a choice. Stay and face the nightmare, or leap into the unknown. The light grew brighter, pulling them toward it. What awaited on the other side? What had they stepped into? The light enveloped them like a cocoon, pushing back the encroaching darkness. It wasn't warm, no, it felt more like the harsh glare of headlights on a dark road. Lisa shielded her eyes, adrenaline coursing through her veins. "Mommy! What's happening?" Evan whimpered, clutching tightly to her sleeve. The moment they were drawn into the light, everything changed. It felt like they were sliding down a tunnel, the walls pulsating around them, alive. Shadows splintered, twisting into shapes that threatened to reach out and snag them. "Stay close!" Lisa shouted, fear igniting her resolve. She glanced at Evan, who was lost in his own panic, eyes wide, unable to comprehend the chaos. Then, all at once, the light vanished. They landed with a thud on cold, hard ground. Lisa pushed herself up, blinking against sudden darkness. She was still in the bedroom, but something was off. The air was thick, suffocating. The walls, once painted in soft colors, now pulsed like the beating of a heart. "Evan?" she called, her voice shaking. "Mom?" His voice was small, lost somewhere in the dark. "I'm right here." "Just stay still," she replied, scanning the room. The shadows pressed in, closer than before, as if they had gained mass. She could feel them crawling beneath her skin. Suddenly, the laughter echoed again, crackling like electricity through the air, mocking her resolve. "Welcome back." The figure sneered, now appearing like a mirage a few feet away. "Did you think you could escape so easily?" Lisa's heart raced. "What do you want from us?" she shouted, her grip tightening around the knife that now seemed to pulse with her anxiety. His grin widened. "What I want is so very simple. Your boy is special." Evan's whimper cut through the air, a sound that cracked Lisa's heart. "No!" she yelled, stepping protectively in front of him. "Oh, but it's precisely why I'm here," he cackled, eyes gleaming. "He carries the gift, the light that speaks to the darkness. All I need is a taste. Stay away." Lisa screamed, lunging forward, knife aimed at the spectral figure. But as she moved, the shadows changed, swirling faster, drawing the knife's trajectory off course. "Futile, my dear," he hissed, advancing, fear and malice mingling in his gaze. The walls trembled as if the very structure repelled her. "Please!" Evan cried, pressing against Lisa's back, wanting nothing more than to hide yet desperate for her safety. The man chuckled softly, a chilling sound. "You can't protect him forever, Lisa. He knows what lies beyond. He knows the truth." "What truth?" she demanded, but she wasn't even sure she wanted the answer. "About you." The figure stepped closer, and the shadows whispered in a symphony of voices, now the voices of the lost, of those entangled in the very darkness that surrounded them. "You're more than just a mother. You were chosen. And so was he." Lisa's breath hitched. "Chosen for what?" His gaze locked onto hers. "To join us. To become a part of the endless cycle." With a deafening roar, the walls shattered, fragments flying, and the light pierced through the cracks, spilling its radiance into the void. "You're just prolonging the inevitable," he shrieked, his figure stretching and twisting as the light consumed him. In that blinding moment, Lisa felt a flicker of hope but also exhaustion, dread gnawing at her insides. The room began to reassemble around them, morphing into something new, something darker. "Evan, follow me," she yelled, tugging on his small hand. They stumbled through the debris, hearts racing as the laughter echoed behind them, a haunting reminder of their tenuous grasp on sanity. But as they fled, a horrid realization loomed over her like a storm cloud. If they escaped this nightmare, would they truly be free? "Mommy!" Evan screamed, pointing ahead, eyes wide with terror. Before them loomed a door, heavy and ancient, its surface etched with symbols that oozed malice. "Do we go through?" Lisa whispered, trembling. With the shadows closing in, she knew this was a crossroads. What awaited them behind it? Was it salvation, or something far worse? And behind them, the laughter swelled. The moment Lisa stepped toward the ancient door, it felt as if the shadows bent to its will, hungry for whatever lay within. The air crackled with tension, sending a chill splattering across her skin. "Mommy!" Evan's frightened voice broke through, a sharp reminder of their dire situation. The door loomed, carved with indecipherable markings that seemed to pulse with their own heartbeat, whispering promises of despair. "Just hold on to me," she said, forcing calm into her voice despite the tremor that betrayed her. The shadows writhed like snakes, and she dared not look back, fearing what she might see. With a deep breath, she pushed the door open. It creaked loudly, sharp against the suffocating silence. The overwhelming darkness beyond was thicker, almost a tangible force. Instinctively, she stepped inside, pulling Evan close. The door swung shut behind them, sealing them in. They found themselves in a cavernous room, the space exaggerated by distorted echoes. Faint light flickered from somewhere far off, illuminating uneven stone walls draped with shadowy figures that looked all too familiar, a collection of memories manifesting into forms she wished she could forget. "Stay close," she ordered, her heart hammering as she squinted into the gloom. Wisps of whispers brushed against her ears, carrying snippets of anguished cries and forlorn pleas. The shadows seemed to watch, judging her every move with beady eyes, and she felt their pressure tightening around her like a vice. "Mom, I don't like this place," Evan whimpered, tugging at her shirt. "I know, sweetheart. We need to keep moving," she whispered back, desperate to keep her composure. Together, they made their way deeper into the hall, if only to find the light that flickered at the far end. As they stepped forward, echoing footsteps resonated behind them. Lisa whirled around, pulse racing. The entryway loomed darker, void of any trace of light. What had they just escaped? Anxiety twisted like a coiled snake in her belly. "Is somebody there?" she called out, voice trembling. Echoes bounced off the walls, distorting her words. Silence answered, heavy and suffocating. Mommy Evan's voice cracked with fear. Suddenly, the flickering light surged ahead, a beacon guiding them through the suffocating shadows. With no time to waste, she pulled Evan along, ignoring the cold sweat gathering on her brow. Marred faces in the shadows and twisted figures seemed to reach for them, fingers stretching, hungry and desperate. "Mom! Run!" Evan screamed, his panicked eyes wide with terror, when she saw it, a shadow darting, impossibly fast, zigzagging through the darkness. It appeared and vanished, merging with the static of fear around them. Heart racing, Lisa picked up speed. They ran, the light grew brighter, but not reassuring. Instead, it revealed grotesque forms lurking in the periphery, their faces obscured yet familiar, echoes of people she knew, their eyes pleading, mouths forming silent screams. The sensation of being watched tightened her throat. "No, don't look, just keep going," she urged, her grip tightening on Evan's small hand. As they reached the source of the light, an enormous circular chamber opened up, the walls shimmering with the faces of the lost, imprisoned. The center was a pond, chaotic with unsettling ripples, illuminated by the ghostly glow. "Mommy?" Evan's voice was barely a whisper. "What is this?" "I don't know," she said, trembling. "But we have to." Before she could finish, the light dimmed, plunging them back into darkness. A thunderous laugh rang through the air, vibrating violently against her skin. The figures in the walls began to scream, and a strong wind swept through the chamber, slamming the door shut behind them with a finality that echoed like death. Panic surged as Lisa spun, searching for an escape, her heart lost in the chaos. They were trapped. "Mom, please!" Evan cried, whatever was in the darkness pressed against them, alive, hungry for their fear. A tendril of shadow, slick and twisting, crept toward them, slithering across the stone floor like something out of a nightmare, and then, from beneath the surface of the pond, a monstrous shape began to rise, dragging itself slowly out of the depths. What was lurking beneath the water? Would they lose themselves in the dark, or could they find a way back to the light? The creature emerged slowly, its form blending seamlessly with the surface of the pond. A gnarled mass of shadows and nightmares, it slithered upward, dripping with the weight of hidden horrors. The glimmer of its eyes pierced through the darkness, catching the light in malicious glints. Lisa's breath caught in her throat. It was a shape that her mind recoiled from, a twisted amalgamation of the lost souls plastered against the walls and the very darkness that enveloped them. The whispered pleas echoed louder now, rising to a cacophony that filled the chamber with terror. Ribbons of shadow curled around her ankles, pulling at her, gripping her with an icy hold rooted in the anguish of the past. "Mommy, make it stop!" Evan squealed, pressing himself against her side, his small form trembling. "I'm trying, sweetheart," she gasped, her mind racing for a solution. She needed to protect him, to shield him from whatever horror loomed nearer. With every agonized whisper, rising before her was a face almost human yet twisted with suffering, its mouth opening in a silent scream. Her heart sank as she recognized it, her best friend from childhood, lost years ago to despair. The darkness had claimed her. "Lisa, help me," the figure mouthed, stretching a shadowy hand toward her. "No!" Lisa shouted, stepping back, pulling Evan with her. She couldn't let it trap her like it had trapped so many before. But there was nowhere to go. The chamber's walls loomed menacingly closer. The pond rippled again, and as if awakened by her scream, the creature surged forth, its form increasingly grotesque. The air crackled with sinister energy, and the walls echoed with desperation, drowning her in a wave of fear. Mom! Evan screamed again, now clawing at her shirt. She could feel his small body quaking against her leg. She couldn't let him see this. Not her son, not like this. Evan, we need to be brave, she whispered urgently. There had to be a way out. The light, was it actually a way to their salvation, or just a trap? Through the chaos, the flickering light pulsed once more from the direction they had come. Was it a lifeline? Could it lead her back to safety? There was a flicker of hope, but it was suffocated by the relentless darkness around them. The tendril moved closer, grasping for her. She could almost feel the despair wash over her. It was palpable, unbearable. In that moment of torment, a chilling thought struck. The creature wasn't just seeking them, it was feeding on their fear, drawing strength from their anguish. Evan, on my count. We run toward the light. She commanded, bracing herself. 1, 2, 3. They bolted forward, a mad flight through the thick air, fueled by sheer desperation. The dark tendrils writhed, reaching for their ankles, trying to yank them back into the darkness. Evan tripped, and Lisa grabbed his hand, pulling him back up just as the shadow brushed her skin, sending a shock of cold shooting through her. The flickering light loomed ahead, close enough to touch. Stay with me, she shouted, her muscles burning, heart thundering. With one last surge, they leapt toward the glow, pushing through the suffocating veil of shadows. But just as they reached the threshold, the creature's monstrous form surged up from the pond, blocking their path. No! Let us go! Lisa screamed, the desperation drowning her voice. The creature opened its mouth wide, a void that promised endless despair. As darkness threatened to engulf them once more, a surge of strength coursed through her. We will not be your prey. In that very moment, the ground shook violently, and the chamber began to crumble with the weight of their defiance. The creature roared, and for the first time, Lisa thought she saw fear in its eyes. Could they break free? Would courage be their salvation? As the walls began to crack, revealing a sliver of outside light, something in her heart whispered that they might just make it. But something else loomed behind them, a presence that seemed almost more deadly than the creature itself. What lay beyond the light? Was the worst yet to come? The crack in the walls widened, pouring light into the chamber like a broken promise. Lisa felt a strange mix of hope and dread. That light could be a way out, or it could lead them deeper into a snare. Mom, I'm scared. Evan's voice trembled against the chaos. Hold on tight, sweetheart, she urged, her grip tightening around his small hand. They had no other choice. The creature's roar echoed through the chamber, a chilling reminder of the price of failure. As they sprinted toward the light, the creature writhed in fury, its slimy body thrashing against the walls. The echoes of its rage mingled with the desperate whispers, growing louder as if the depth of torment was being shared among the damned. It was trying to trap them, to drag their souls into its abyss. The closer they got to the light, the more the shadows twisted and snarled around them. Tendrils shot out, cold as ice, latching onto her legs. Panic surged within her as she slid, almost losing her grip on Evan. No! Not now! With a fierce pull, Lisa yanked herself free, determination overshadowing the creeping dread that clung to her. They barreled forward, feet pounding against the hard ground, heart racing like a thunderstorm, desperate to find sanctuary. The walls shuddered, groaning under the weight of darkness. Rocks began to tumble down. Run! She screamed, voice cracking under the pressure. Each stride felt like it might be their last, every inch pushing them closer to salvation or doom. Just as darkness threatened to envelop them, they burst through the crack into the brilliant unknown. The world opened before them, bright and vivid, yet something felt wrong. The air was thick, the grass vibrated with an unnatural energy, and the sky shimmered, but not with stars. Shadows danced across the fields, and the trees whispered their secrets in a language she didn't understand. Where are we? Evan gasped, eyes wide as he took in the strange world. I don't know. Lisa's voice faltered. A chill gnawed at her gut as she scanned the horizon. The familiarity of their surroundings was gone. It was like stepping into a dream fraught with unease. "Mommy," he murmured, taking a step back. "That's not the way home." "Then we find another way," Lisa said, fiercely shaking off her doubts. They had escaped the creature's lair, but what awaited them here? A figure emerged from the shadows, cloaked and hooded, features obscured behind a veil of darkness. "You should not be here," it warned, voice gravelly and ancient, sending a shiver down her spine. "Who are you?" Lisa demanded, her heart pounding in her chest. "The lost find no refuge in the night," it stated cryptically, raising a skeletal finger toward the horizon where an unsettling fog rolled in. "Turn back now, or face the consequences of your defiance." Lisa felt dread settle in her chest. They had barely escaped one terror, and now this? Determination swelled within her. "We want to go back." "Not now." "Then you must pay the price," the figure sneered, stepping closer. Shadows shifted and swirled around it, forming shapes that threatened to spiral out of control. Evan, terrified, clung to her. Lisa felt his fear resonate within her, the icy grip of despair creeping back. "This way!" she shouted, breaking into a sprint, forcing her legs to move, but as they fled, the shadows pulsed at their heels, breathing down their necks. The ground beneath them began to tremble, as though something awakening beneath the earth was responding to their flight. With every step, she could feel the creature's influence. It was not gone, it had merely shifted. Was there no end to this nightmare? They were trapped between two monsters, the one behind them and the one that awaited them in the fog. What would they face if they ventured deeper into this new realm? And could they ever truly escape? Lisa's heart raced as the ground continued to tremble beneath their feet. Shadows flickered behind them, eager to catch their scent. She dared not look back. She had to keep her eyes on the mysterious landscape before them, but every instinct screamed at her to be wary. The chill in the air heightened her senses, pricking at her skin like needles. "Mom, it's getting darker." Evan's voice trembled, panic slicing through the thickened fog that enveloped them. "I know, sweetheart. Just a little further." Her voice was a mix of encouragement and desperation. They needed to find somewhere safe, anything to escape the looming dread. The figure they had encountered slipped into the gloom with haunting silence. Lisa thought she saw its eyes glint like a predator's, but she forced herself to look away. They had to move. The unsettling fog rolled in closer, whispering secrets and promises that felt too distant to grasp. As they pushed through the darkness, strange shapes began to materialize around them, twisted trees with gnarled branches that seemed to reach out and clutch at the air. Their bark looked alive, pulsing gently, like the chest of a sleeping beast. The wind rustled through the leaves, sounding disturbingly like a whispering voice, beckoning her to listen, to stay. "Mom, what if we just turn back?" Evan's little voice quivered, fighting to go against the adrenaline coursing through his veins. Turning back would be worse. She snapped, gripping his hand tighter. "We can't." A jagged laughter erupted from the fog, echoing through the trees, sending chills down her spine. Someone or something was watching them. "Do you hear that?" Evan whispered. "Yes." Her voice barely left her lips. The echoes of laughter mingled with soft, disorienting hums, weaving around them like a net. It was disorientating. The trees seemed to close in, trapping them in a labyrinth of shadows. Lisa felt the presence grow like a gathering storm. "Mom!" Evan's face twisted with fear as he tilted his head, listening to something behind them. "What?" she hissed, still focused on their path ahead. "Something is following us." Before she could respond, a low growl reverberated through the air, close enough to send shivers racing down her spine. It felt like the very ground was vibrating with rage. "Run!" she shouted. They heaved forward, feet pounding against the uneven earth, the sounds of snapping twigs trailing behind them like snags of a nightmare. Lisa glanced over her shoulder. In the murky twilight, dark shapes slithered and whipped, countless eyes reflecting the strange light that flickered through the fog. Faster! Don't look back! She screamed, each pounding heartbeat echoing in her ears. As they dashed through the thick foliage, the branches clawed at her skin, snagging on her clothes, slowing her down. Each snag felt deliberate, malicious. A cold wind swept through the twisted trees, howling like a banshee. Mom! I can't just hold on. Evan stumbled, nearly falling. Lisa caught him, but a chill snaked around her ankle. She felt the familiar tendrils of darkness trying to pull her back, sinking deep into the earth. The shadows were alive, calculating. Suddenly, the trees unfurled to reveal a clearing bathed in faint light. In the center, a battered stone altar loomed against an awful backdrop. The air crackled, humming with tension. Is this a way out? Evan panted, his eyes wide with a mix of fear and curiosity. Maybe, but she knew better. This place wasn't a sanctuary, it was a trap disguised as safety. She could feel it. They weren't alone. Heedless shadows slithered across the ground, skimming the edges of the altar like predators circling their prey. Mom, we shouldn't be here, Evan whispered, dread heavy in his voice. Still, we need to make a decision. The moment stretched painfully as the shadows coiled tighter around them. What lay beyond the altar? She could almost feel the creature's presence pulsing like a heartbeat, angry and expectant. Mom, Evan's voice cracked. But at that moment, Lisa realized the frightening truth: the only escape might demand a sacrifice. What would they be willing to give up to survive this new nightmare? The altar loomed ominous, draped in dark, whispering shadows as they stepped closer. Lisa could feel the weight of many lost souls pressing down on her. Her heart raced, the air thrummed with tension, a trembling anticipation of something terrible unfolding. Evan, stay close. She urged, clenching his hand tighter, desperation pooling in her chest. It was all happening too fast. Every instinct screamed for them to run, but something at the altar seduced them with the promise of safety. It felt like a wrong turn that could lead to salvation, but in this world, nothing came without a price. As they approached the stone slab, the shadows flickered around them, forming grotesque shapes that whispered secrets only the damned could understand. Mom, what do we do? Evan's voice, quivering, punctured her thoughts. Trembling, she scanned their surroundings. They could either choose to face the altar or retreat to the unknown dangers lurking behind them. Look! Evan pointed, wide-eyed. Shadows coiled around the altar, forming dark figures, their faces shifting and merging with Lisa's memories, familiar yet warped by sorrow. Her breath caught as she realized they were echoes of those who had come before her. Their pleas, unending. Save us, join us, leave us alone. Lisa shouted, heart pounding against the confines of her chest. She couldn't let them drown her in despair. Evan, we have to break this cycle. With a surge of will, she stepped closer to the altar, driven by an instinct to help. Was it the right thing to do? Or could this be a trap designed to ensnare them both? The shadows thickened in response, drawing nearer. You must make a choice, whispered a voice, both seductive and sinister. To save your son, you must pay. What kind of price? Lisa demanded, her voice steady despite the tremor in her heart. A piece of your fear, your despair, or someone dear to you, the voice hissed, an echo of laughter resonating throughout the clearing. The shadows tightened around them, an angry storm of souls seeking release. Lisa's heart sank. The choice felt like an impossible riddle. Could she truly sacrifice a part of herself to ensure her son's safety? Or was she willing to let her fears consume them both? The weight of her decision bore down like a heavy shroud. Mom! Evan whimpered, pulling at her sleeve, sensing the tension crackling in the air. She knelt before him, forcing herself to appear strong. Whatever happens, I will protect you. No matter what. And out of nowhere, a glimmer flashed in the corner of her eye, the flicker of distant light, an escape route beckoning beyond the altar. coiling her fears with it. "Let us move, sweetheart," Lisa shouted, desperation fueling her, pulling Evan into a mad dash toward the illuminated aura. But right as a shadow lunged at her from the altar, she exhaled, "I refuse your bargain." The moment the words left her lips, the shadows howled, recoiling as if struck. A blinding light erupted from the altar, engulfing the chamber in brilliance. "Traitor!" the voice screamed, twisting and writhing through the air like an anguished echo. "Run!" Lisa urged, her grip clutching Evan's small hand tightly as they sprinted through the tunnel of light, the shadows' cries fading behind them, frustrated and furious, but as they burst forward into what seemed like open air, gravity tugged at them, warm light showering over their skin. They stumbled out of the darkness, tumbling onto grass, sunlight wrapping around them like an embrace. Lisa gasped, filling her lungs with the fresh scent of freedom. She looked around to find they were back in their neighborhood, sunlight filtering through trees, playing tricks on the leaves. It felt like a dream, but it was real. She could hear children laughing, feel the warmth of the sun against her skin. "Mommy!" Evan exclaimed, looking up at her with wide, innocent eyes, still shaken but unharmed. Relief washed over her, calm chasing away the suffocating dread that had engulfed her moments before. "Evan, we made it," she said, her voice choked with emotion. Tears spilled down her cheeks, a mixture of fear, joy, and gratitude. They had faced the darkness together, defied it, and emerged on the other side, but deep down, Lisa could still hear the whisper of shadows, a reminder that darkness never truly disappeared. It lurked, waiting, and she knew she had to stay vigilant. Every day would be a fight. Not just for survival but for hope, and as they walked home hand in hand, safe amid the sunlit glow, one thought resonated fiercely within her: love was her greatest weapon. The sun dipped lower on the horizon, its golden rays painting the sky in brilliant hues. And as she breathed in deeply, she understood that together they could face whatever came next, but the scars of their shared horror, the shadows of the encounter, would never truly fade, reminders that light and dark exist in a delicate dance, always intertwined. Don't wait even one more second. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that could chill your bones. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Your support makes all the difference, and flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this heart-pounding conclusion. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this end and join the conversation. True fans show their support through these actions. Don't let this moment slip away.